Hey, CJN podcast listeners, Michael Freeman here, executive producer. I wanted to share that the CJN has earned 6 Simon Rockhour Awards this month, the Jewish Pulitzers, as some folks call them. We took home awards for magazine writing and design, and for feature stories on a Holocaust music project, BDS on Canadian campuses, and 4 women who discovered they were sisters in their golden years, thanks to 23andMe. But we can't create award-winning journalism without your help. If you value independent Jewish journalism, please consider supporting us today at thecjn.ca/donate.
There was a little table in the front yard of compacted dirt with a small chair, and there is a plate of walnut noodles. And immediately I sat down to eat, and at what point my mother left, I don't remember. I'm sure that she must have kissed me and she must have said, behave, but I remember the pasta.
It was just a plate of walnut noodles, Adam Politzer's favorite dish. In the spring of 1944, in Hungary, it became the last ordinary moment the 5-year-old would ever share with his mother. Now 87 and living in Vancouver, Adam Policzer tells that story in a moving new documentary about his life called I Draw Them the Best I Can. He remembers his mother bringing him across the street to neighbors she trusted, hoping they could keep her only child alive while Nazi persecution closed in around Hungary's Jews. Adam recalls seeing his favorite meal waiting for him on a table in the neighbor's yard. While he focused on eating, his mother quietly said goodbye. Adam's parents had already seen the danger facing Europe's Jews. His father escaped to Chile weeks before the war broke out in 1939, but Adam and his mother remained behind. Before the war, the family converted to Christianity and decided not to circumcise Adam, choices that would later help the Christian family, the Berishes, pass him off as their Christian nephew. Soon after she left her son with the Berish family, Adam's mother and the rest of the 15,000 Jews of Miskolc were forced into the city's ghetto and then deported to Auschwitz. For the next year, the Berish family repeatedly risked their lives to save Adam. 3 separate times after neighbors betrayed the boy and he was deported alone, first to a transit camp, then next time to a prison in Budapest, and each time the Berish family brought him home again by pleading with the authorities on his behalf, saying he wasn't Jewish. The third time, when the Gestapo came looking for him, they hid Adam with relatives in the Hungarian countryside until it was safe. In July 1946, 7-year-old Adam finally reunited with his father in Chile and began a new life. Today, that remarkable story has become both an English-language graphic memoir, The House Across the Street, and a documentary inspired by it.
My story, my drama, I hate the word trauma, but my story goes down to my children, goes down to my wife. And that is, I'm realizing it just now, and in a way, this process is helping us to deal with it.
I'm Ellen Besner, and this is what Jewish Canada sounds like for Monday, July 20th, 2026. Welcome to a fresh episode of North Star, the flagship podcast of the Canadian Jewish News, made possible thanks to the generous support of the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky-Gluskin Charitable Foundation. It's good to be back with you after my 2-week holiday break in the Gaspé as we bring you this moving story about Canadian Holocaust child survivor Adam Policzer, who this summer is marking 3 milestones: the publication of the first English-language edition of his graphic memoir, The House Across the Street, the premiere of the documentary, which was shown at the Toronto Jewish Film Festival in June, and the 80th anniversary of his reunion with his father after the Holocaust. For decades, Policzer rarely spoke publicly about his wartime experiences, but drawing those memories and seeing how the filmmakers brought those scenes to life with animation and on-the-ground reporting in Europe helped him understand something he hadn't fully appreciated before, that surviving the Holocaust didn't affect only him, it also shaped his wife, his 3 children, and his grandchildren. Policzer also wanted to honor the Christian family who risked everything to save his life. I sat down with Adam Policzer along with the filmmakers Jamie Michaels and Liam Karp, both of Winnipeg, to talk about memory, survival, and why Politzer's comic book rendition makes it a unique contribution to Holocaust education today. Great to meet all of you all together. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having it.
First of all, congratulations, Adam. I was lucky enough to see the screening of your documentary in Toronto at the Jewish Film Festival when the two gentlemen on our call were there to present it, and I was so moved.
Thank you very much. Although we're sorry that Adam couldn't be there, we're lucky to have his daughter and two of his grandchildren there. So that was really special for us to have some family representation at the screening.
Yeah.
So, Adam, your book, The House Across the Street, can you tell us a little bit briefly, what was the story behind doing this book?
Yeah, we started with Irene, with my wife. We started with the idea of telling our story to our grandchildren. And we started with the idea of having one page each. But very soon we realized that while Irene's childhood was very nice, but my childhood was a bit more complicated, it needed quite a bit of telling, so that this idea of one page each would not work. I did a couple of pages, drew with pencil. I should state I'm an architect. Both of us, Irene and I, are architects. We met studying architecture. We were in the same class. And I'm not an artist, but I have some ease with the pencil. And I love comic books. Then a lady, her name is Karen Kostner, of Living Memory, a Chilean Jewish organization that was making a book on Holocaust survivors who settled in Chile, learned about me, and she was coming to North America, and she came to interview me. During the interview, Irene mentioned, why don't you show her these drawings? There were 4 or 5 drawings. She saw them and she was, this is fantastic. So then she started pushing it, and eventually she got financing to hire a professional artist to do a 20-page educational thing. My son, at the same time, his thesis that was about the dictatorship in Chile was published by a very important Chilean publisher, and he mentioned this to the publisher. And so the book eventually was published, I think, 2 years ago in Spanish, La Casa del Frente. And then Jamie also got interested, and the house across the street came to be.
So then I'm going to bring in Jamie and Liam. You got connected how long ago with this incredible project?
Well, I think that Adam and I connected just over 2 years ago. We connected via his son, Pablo, through the University of Calgary and the Calgary Institute for the Humanities. And they were looking for an English language publisher for this project. I run a boutique publishing company based out of Winnipeg. And I thought, this is a really amazing story. And kind of connecting with Adam, I thought, you know what? I really think there's a film project here. The book is such a work of art, but you can never contain all of the story in 64 pages. There was more story.
I want to bring it back to Adam. There have been other graphic novels recently out of Canada, even out of Vancouver, with Miriam Leibicki and others who've done Holocaust survivor graphic novels. Mm-hmm. What is it about telling your story in this form that sets it apart, maybe, from the usual biography or, autobiography?
Okay, first, it is a complicated story. I have never been able to tell it without the listener starting to fall asleep. I'm not a good storyteller. I'm not a good writer. I can write business letters or reports, but not this. So, yeah, this was the way I can tell the story. And I think that I thought that what the hell, it's a story that it is worth telling.
No, as your publisher, I insist you're great at both. So one thing that I think is unique about this story, and we don't almost ever see stories that are both written and illustrated by someone with this firsthand experience. And I think that really comes through in this graphic novel. There's something kinetic about the artwork. And I think that you often see this as a combination. If you look at the most famous Holocaust graphic novel, Maus, that's a second generation recollection.
Right.
So if you look at some of the work by Libicki, who's a fantastic graphic novelist, she's illustrating somebody else's story. So I think Adam's project is very unique in that it's firsthand and it's from the source.
I would like to add, don't misinterpret me. I know that I'm the youngest cohort that can remember the Holocaust. Younger than me, they don't remember. They were babies, survivors as I am, but they don't remember. I do remember. And also, I think that I'm one of the few that can draw. So I can, many of the drawings in the book, not all, but many, are really fairly decent representations of what it was, what I remember.
How long does it take to do one page or one illustration?
I think that most graphic novel artists would be horrorized by the way I draw. I trace and trace until it is right. So in total, I think that I finished the book it was around a year and a half of drawing. But I must say it was a lot of, not exactly fun, but enjoyment.
How could it be fun and also when you're remembering both the trauma?
So I felt almost that I developed a relationship with my drawing, something that had never happened to me before. Others that were really fun, because now there is a Google map. You can go and see what Vienna looks like, what Zurich looks like, whatever park. So I could choose a scenario where I wanted to put the little kid and then trace it. And when the tracing came out nice, that is real.
I think a big part of what I enjoyed about filming this was going to those real locations that Adam had remembered, like the ghettos and the synagogues, and being able to film them in the same way he framed them, and being able to transition between our film and his drawings on an almost like one-to-one frame. It was really great to step into like his mind in that way, and be that kid looking at those buildings, at least through a camera.
I want to talk to you about the actual family, the family that hid you in the house across the street.
Oh, the Baders, yeah.
Can you tell us what you remember about this family that hid you and protected you during the war?
To be honest, my memory is that I went from one family to another. And I don't remember any drama or any sense of feeling abandoned. So they were just as warm and as loving as my mother and my family across the street was. So it was Mrs. and Mr. and Mrs. Bedes, Mrs. Bedes' parents, Fodor Baci and Fodor Neni, and Mrs. Bedes' younger brother, Joshko. And yeah, it was, I went from one family to another. I never was abandoned.
Did they know that you were of Jewish origin?
When my father left for Chile, my mother went to live with her elder sister that was married to this fairly affluent gentleman who was in the largest furniture store in Miskolc, right across the street, and really it was right across the street, lived the Bedes that were better off working class family. So they were neighbors for very long time, and obviously they knew that my mother, and her sister and her family, that we were Jewish. I'm not sure how long they had been neighbors, and they had two daughters, and the youngest daughter died. I think it was tuberculosis, died some 10 years earlier, and my family did help them a lot. Now, one point is that my mother's sister and her husband, they were Jewish, no question. And I do remember Yom Kippur after fasting dinners there. My mother and my father had converted before marrying, which meant that I was not circumcised. If I had been circumcised, I don't know if they would have accepted to take me, because that would have been no chance. But not being circumcised, the story that I'm not Jewish, that I'm a son of a Gentile sister of the Mrs. Bader, is possible. And that is what twice I got me out of totally miraculous situations.
Coming up, why the Berishes didn't qualify as righteous among the nations. Did you ever, how people apply to Yad Vashem to get righteous among the nations? Yeah, what happened with that?
I made a big mistake of telling Yad Vashem that my uncle and my father were the only inheritors of the fortune, of the house and the furniture store. So they gave the Beresh, because they were not interested in going to Miskolc and selling it right after the war meant nothing. And they felt that the Beresh deserved it. And I got a letter from Yad Vashem saying, sorry, but if there was exchange of compensation, then the righteous Gentile doesn't apply, which I felt it was okay. In a way, I said, fuck you.
So how important is it to you that this book and this film honors the people who saved your life?
So, yes, I managed to tell the story that it's really, I think it is heroic. And the fact that their children know what their parents did. I just received an email from Joshko's daughter, who lives in Vienna, saying that how moved she is by my story and by what her father did. Yeah, no, that is a bit of, I don't know how important, a feeling of, okay, I have done what I have to.
In the film, one of the children is in the film. Liam, how did you guys, and Jamie, how did you find the surviving kids?
Through Adam. We knew that Laszlo Beres was there. Laszlo was born after Adam left, but he heard all the stories through his parents and was very well versed in Adam's story. And the fact that they named Laszlo after Adam too was an amazing surprise that we didn't know going in. So when you're doing interviews like that and that kind of information comes up, it's pretty remarkable.
Okay, the story is this. When the war ends, the village haven't had contact with my father during the war of the German occupation. So while I was there, they didn't know about my father, and they felt it was quite possible that my father had remade his life in Chile, got married, had children, and this kid from Hungary, he didn't want it too complicated. They were going to adopt me. So they were my parents. But my father called me, and so I lived 2 years with the Bedesh, and then was kicked off to Chile. And their only son was born shortly after I left. Now, I have to add, contact with the Bedesh was at the beginning. I wrote them as regularly as a 7 or 8 year old kid will write, but slowly my Hungarian deteriorated, and Hungarian is not an easy language. So eventually we lost regular contact. Then I came to Canada and I started visiting my uncle in England. And it occurred to me one time I went that a weekend flight to Budapest was very cheap. So in 86, I went first time to Hungary and met Mrs. Beres again. Mr. Beres had already died and met Laszlo, met the son, 7 years my junior. And then I realized how much influence that couple of years with his parents had similarities with him. I had never had a brother, and it was just as convoluted and difficult relationship as people have with their siblings.
What do you want the book and the film to do?
So in that complexity, I hope there will be some reflexivity for the viewers on how they engage with history and how they humanize history.
Well, what do you find so complex about it? I mean, it's a story of generosity and courage.
So I think that can be a reading of the film. That's absolutely fair to say. I think we were also interested in how the experiences have rippled through the Policzer family for multiple generations, how these experiences don't end with the person that experienced them, and also how art is a means of processing these pieces of our past. And I think that everyone can make art regardless of when that strikes them.
Yeah, so while it is complicated, the thing that I wanted to express the most is that it's never too late to come to terms with your past through art.
Adam, they mentioned intergenerational ripples. Yeah. What does that mean in your family when you went through all this stuff and talked about your Holocaust experiences? Did they not want to hear it? Was there sort of your kids didn't want you to go through this because they thought it would be upsetting? What was the deal?
No, I think that the Holocaust story was part of our family's tradition. So that was always present. The one thing I always wanted to be from my youngest time when I got to Chile was to be normal, to be as everybody else. And I have kept that for a long time, and I felt that I was right. But no, life is a bit more complicated, and lately it has taken me a long time, many, many years to realize that no, my story, my drama, I hate the word drama, but my story goes down to my children, goes down to my wife. So in some way, and that is, I'm realizing it just now, and in a way, this process is helping us to deal with it. It's not, I won't say solve it. There is nothing to solve. This is what we are. But okay, we have to. It must be something that we deal with. Now, I think that about the Holocaust, there are two reactions, two ways that survivors deal with it. Some tell the story. My uncle, I managed him to write his memoirs, and that are fascinating to read, and I want to tell my story. My uncle's wife, my aunt, she survived Auschwitz. She never wanted to talk about it. Why talk about these horrible things when the world is so full of beautiful things that we can enjoy? Yes, I understand it, but I understand that position, but I think that we have to deal with the ugly part of life and see how we dealt with them.
Well, I'm honored that you shared this with me. Is this film going to be in schools? Is the book going to be where does it go from here?
Sure. So the book premiered at the Toronto Comic Arts Festival. It's now available all across the country. We ship with no charge for this project. Our website is dirtywatercomics.com. I invite everyone to check out the website, pick up a copy of Adam's incredible story, and the film will be in festivals for at least the next year and a half. And stay tuned for its next stop after festivals.
So I thank you all for joining us on the Canadian Jewish News' North Star podcast. Congratulations, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And that's what Jewish Canada sounded like for this episode of North Star, brought to you by the Ira Gluskin and Maxine Granovsky-Gluskin's Charitable Foundation. If you want to learn more about Adam Politzer's graphic novel, The House Across the Street, or the documentary I Draw Them the Best I Can, you'll find the links in our show notes. This episode was produced by Zachary Judah Kaufman with assistance from Izzy Helenchild. Michael Freeman is the executive producer. Alicia Richler is editorial director of the Canadian Jewish News. I'm Ellen Bessner. Thanks for listening.